What's up everyone, China Cycling here. Today no head, just hands, because a quick and dirty video just to show you these bad boys. These are the RideNow Race Formula Ultralight Innertubes. Now, TPU tubes are nothing new, like I said. Tubilito made them famous, other brands are doing them now, but the advantage of these, like most things that come out of China, is the price. These retail for about $15 a tube. Now, if you haven't done your research, you go, $15 for a tube, my tubes only cost $2. Yeah, but compared to Tubilito, I think Tubilito tubes are like $30, $40, $50, depending on which market you're in. The same with the Pirelli ones or whoever else is making them. I'll put some numbers down below of prices. Traditionally, TPU tubes have been super expensive, so now it's good to be getting a more affordable option. Let's take a look. So mostly we're going to talk about the different aspects of a tube and tire setup. I think number one, we're going to talk about the weight difference. Number two, we're going to talk about puncture protection difference. And number three, we're going to talk about the road feel, or the rolling resistance maybe. So that's what we're going to have a look at. The TPU inner tubes, super light. So this style of inner tube, I guess, was popularized by Tubilito a few years ago, and has since, I think, Pirelli now have a version. Who else has a version? Vittoria have a version? Pirelli have a version? I don't know. Anyway, lots of people have versions of these now. But yeah, just TPU inner tubes. So these things, as you can see, super, super, super small. Now this is a standard road bike 700C tire version. It can hold, go from as small as an 18C tire up to a 32C tire. So, all of your kind of road bike kind of range. But the best thing about it, of course, is the weight. So if we have a look on here, boom. 34.12 grams I have on there, and that's with the extra little packaging as well. So yeah, advertised weight of 36. This one, 34.12. Let's check the other one just for giggles. 34.12, and this one, 33.1. So there we go, yeah. So a standard inner tube is maybe around 120, 130 grams for a Butyl inner tube. This you're talking 30 grams, so about 100 grams saving. And of course, the weight saving is at the edge of the rim. Any weight you can save on your tires or your tubes is definitely worth its weight in gold. But also, most people are riding with 2 spare tubes in the pocket as well. So if you take into account that on any given time you have 4 tubes on you, like 2 in the bike and 2 on yourself. If you change all of those to these, then that's going to be a saving of 400 grams. 400 grams is definitely nothing to be sniffed at. That's more than the difference between Ultegra and Dura-Ace. So these are expensive for inner tubes, like $15 US. But if you buy 4 of them, let's call that $60 US. But like $60 US to go from like 105 levels of weight up to down to Dura-Ace levels of weight, I think is the bargain of the century. Now, I've been using these in various shapes and forms for about 4 or 5 months now. I say various shapes and forms because when they were developing these, actually sent me some prototypes and then some from the first batches, yada, yada, yada. The earlier batches had transparent valves. You may have seen some online, maybe not. Anyway, the ones with the transparent valves, they'd sometimes leak a bit of air over time. These ones, the updated ones with the black valves, they seem to be doing a lot better. I've got these across a bunch of my bikes now because I actually have these in various different sizes now. So these ones in my hand are 700C, but I also have some 650B ones. They also have 700C gravel ones. They have mountain bike ones. They have Brompton size ones, yada, yada, yada. So I have these on lots of my bikes, and so far I've been getting on them with them very well. So how do they ride? So these past few years, I'm pretty much a tubeless convert. I've been riding tubeless, especially on all my hyper wheels. I think setting up tubeless on a hyper is so easy. But for the sake of testing these and to see how light we could go, on my SLC, I've gone for these, the super light RideNow inner tubes with these, the Maxxis High Road SL Hyper S tires. Now these tires, I forget exactly how heavy they are, I'll put it down below. I think there's like 180 gram tires. So 180 gram tires plus a 30 gram tube, you're talking 210 grams. Like, you can't come anywhere near that with tubeless. Maybe you'll get a TT tubeless tire, which will get close, but then as soon as you put some sealant in there or whatever, you're gonna go over that. So but it's not a huge world of difference. Tubeless tires are getting pretty light. It's going to depend how much sealant you put in and stuff. So I think for weight-wise, it's much of a muchness. Maybe these tubes with super light tires is going to be better, but because these are super light tires, you're going to lose some puncture resistance. Now, talking about puncture resistance, I don't think tubes actually make a big difference to puncture resistance personally. I think puncture resistance is mostly dictated by your tire. Now, if you're using a too thin tube, you know, you're using like a 32C tube in a 50C tire or whatever, okay, you might get more flats. But as long as you're within the range of the tube, I think most tubes are created pretty equally. That said, the very first ride I did with these, within like 2 miles, I got a flat. There was a manhole cover slightly lifted up with a sharp edge. I'll put a picture in, and yeah, it got me. But I'm gonna say this is maybe my fault. I actually inflated the tire for that with just a hand pump. I had no idea how much air was in it. And I hadn't used tubes for a couple of years, so maybe I was totally off with how much air I should put in. After that, since then, I've been paying attention to how much air I put in them. I put in about 85 PSI, and since then I've had no problems, no flats whatsoever, in about, I want to say about 3,000 kilometers of riding on this setup. So puncture protection, I'm going to say there's no difference between this and either butyl or latex tires. Sorry, tubes. Okay, so to recap, number one, on weight, I think these have the slight edge over tubeless. Of course, compared to butyl tubes or latex tubes, they have a huge advantage. For puncture resistance, I think there's no difference between these and butyl tubes or latex tubes. Now, compared to tubeless, obviously with these, you can still get a pinch flat in theory, whereas with tubeless, you can never get a pinch flat. So maybe advantage to tubeless in that case. And the third thing I said we're going to look at was like the road feel of these. I haven't tried these with a whole bunch of tires. I've only tried them with these Maxxis High Road SL tires. So maybe it's not the most fair of comparisons. Maybe I should try these in a lot more tires before I give my final verdict. But my verdict was, like, to me, they feel better than a butyl tube, but maybe not as good as a latex tube in terms of like the road feel. I don't know. I feel like it's something about this hard plastic. I don't know. Again, it could be in my head. It could be because of this tire. I'm not sure. But road feel, for me, if we're going to rank it, I'm going to say the feeling of tubeless is number one. I love the way how tubeless feels on the road. Like, you can really feel or not feel the tire deform into the road. I'm going to say for me, number two is latex tubes. I like the way how latex tubes feel on the road. For number three, I'm going to say these TPU tubes. They feel good. Like, they feel better than a butyl tube, which puts butyl tubes in number four. Like, butyl tubes, they always feel like mushy on the road. And you definitely don't get that with these. But you might be like me, an absolute tubeless convert, but I think these still have a place in your heart, or at least a place in your saddlebag. I think most people who ride tubeless, we carry a couple of tubes in case it all goes pear-shaped and we need to get home. Look how small this is. Like, I have the world's tiniest hands, and these things are tiny. You can put two of these in the smallest of saddlebags. The advantage only seems to get bigger the bigger tubes you get. My 650B tubes and my mountain bike tubes, they are tiny compared to their butyl counterparts. So even if, like me, you're a tubeless convert, I think a couple of these in your saddlebag is the way to go. Number one, you're saving weight, and number two, you're saving space. No one likes a big, ugly saddlebag on the back of the bike, sorry. And yeah, you can change to a much smaller saddlebag if you're using these guys. What about safety? Yeah, obviously, you know, we're messing with new parts, so we're going to talk about safety. Tubilito, they separate their tubes into ones you can use with disc brakes and one you can use with rim brakes, because rim brake versions have to be able to handle the high temperatures. RideNow, they don't do that. All of theirs are just rim brake compatible. It says on the box for use with rim brakes and disc brakes. So they don't do the super light Tubilito style ones, which, you know, explode if they get too hot. They just do this version. I've been riding these in Chapman summer, which it gets up to like 40 degrees, you know, braking downhill with rim brakes. And so far, no giant explosions. Obviously, time will tell. But so far, so good. They've done their testing. They're happy with it. Again, there are other products on the market like this that also have a good safety record, so I don't see there being any major issues. But of course, advantage is the price. These guys are $15 US. I think that's about a third or a half of the price of the equivalent Tubelitos, depending on where you are in the world and how much this stuff costs. But yeah, I think this technology, it's just a plastic bag with a valve at the end of the day. It shouldn't be costing 30 or 40 bucks for a tube. That's pretty ridiculous. 15 bucks, yes, it is a lot for a tube, but compared to the competition, it's a lot cheaper. And hey, the amount of money you'd have to spend to save this much weight in other areas would be far more. So in my opinion, these things are a no-brainer. On my tubeless bikes, I'm going to keep some in a saddlebag. I think I'm going to keep using them on here for now, like until this tire runs out at least. Like I say, for weight, it seems to be a no-brainer. The setup of this is obviously a lot better than setting up tubeless. As you guys know, these days we've debuted the new Hyper 2023 wheels. In the testing and all the photo shoots for that, I had to set up so many tubeless wheels, and putting in sealant or not putting in sealant and having it leak and all that stuff was driving me crazy. So I do think tubes are a lot simpler at the end of the day. So I'm not going to go into the tubeless versus tubes war. Y'all can do that in the comment section down below. But if you're running tubes, I say you run these tubes. If you are running tubeless, I'm saying put these in your saddle bag. Get them from where you want to get them. The usual places to find Chinese things. I think they will be going up on the Windspace website soon too. I think if you're buying a set of wheels, chuck a couple of these in your shopping cart because you're already paying for shipping. Again, it's another no-brainer. So yeah, these are the RideNow Race Formula Innertubes. They come with different lengths to match your wheels, yada, yada, yada. And for me, I think it's a 2 thumbs up. Go get yourself some.